Good evening yet again on your Thursday. I'm forecaster Andrew Fleck for Analyst Weathercast, and here we go again, Rainstorm Update Part 3. Most of us have had a good amount of rain in eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey so far. Right now, looking at radar, what's beginning to happen is you're starting to see more yellows and more oranges on radar. That indicates heavier rain. Now, what I did say in my 3 o'clock video was that we were going to get into an hour or two of a break across eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and then into portions of New York. That is what's happening, but I don't want some of you folks to go and think that what's happening is the vent's starting to back off a little bit. It's not as intense as it was supposed to be, any of those things, because it's not. What I did explain in my 3 o'clock video was that the low pressure is beginning to travel into Pennsylvania. As it does, the precipitation is going to get drawn into it because the trough is beginning to dig into the storm. So this precipitation is going to move into that low pressure, which is going to sit over central Pennsylvania, meaning that the western ends of, let's say, the Delaware Basin are only the ones who are getting the rain. But as the low pressure overnight begins to expand the precipitation outward, that's when all that precipitation at its worst heads eastward into eastern Pennsylvania, the Delaware Basin, the New Jersey Basin, and eastward, and that's when the real flooding threat occurs. What we've had already overnight, this past Wednesday into Thursday, and this morning and afternoon, was just a bit of a bonus, but what's really coming in is the stuff this evening and overnight. And I do want to give you a time frame and evidence off the latest model that does prove that. Again, here is 7 p.m. tonight. Alright, low pressure finally gets drawn into Pennsylvania here. Alright, so now the low pressure finally in Pennsylvania. So what happens? You start getting your eastern flow, your heavy precipitation, okay, ahead of that. So you start getting all that yellows all beginning to progress eastward. Okay, so 7 p.m., that's the transition when it starts to progress into our area once again. Okay, might even begin doing that a little sooner. Okay, but 7 p.m. and on, that's when we believe it starts to happen. So next up is 1 a.m. and 1 a.m. is when you're probably at your worst. You're coming toward midnight, again the peak hours overnight, and that's when, look at this, the rain is at its worst. Okay, and that's because of this low pressure begins to really strengthen. Okay, here it's sitting up here. You could see the millibars. It's a 1,000 millibar low, probably even a little more stronger. And again, east side of that, as that low pressure gets stronger, is where your heaviest precipitation is. Again, over our zone, eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, at that time, overnight, midnight and on, heaviest rain will be on your doorstep. And then as we head into the early commute on Friday, 7 a.m., that's when all that rain is finally pushing out of here. Okay, and it looks like eastern PA is still getting some moderate rain showers. Northeastern Pennsylvania still a little bit of heavier showers, and then New York begins to get into the heaviest. But so that's what I did want to explain here, though, that by 7 p.m. it's going to begin to progress into the area again, and this time the heaviest. Then by 1 a.m. we look to be at the worst. Probably from 1 to 6 a.m. For eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey is probably going to be your worst time frame. So although some of you folks are sitting here this evening not seeing as much rain consistently falling as you thought, it's a long ways from done yet. And I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. Now, current storm totals, as I always like to show on here, is again higher as we go through the evening, and will continue, especially when the heaviest rain moves to our east. And let me just show you that over northern Northampton County, Monroe County, up toward Belvedere, northeastern Pennsylvania, that area, again, has been a jackpot. They're already up to about 2.5 inches, and then of course more south across Reading, Lancaster, and that vicinity at 2.5 as well. So imagine this: we've already had about 2.5 inches in some spots across some of the basins here. All right, and putting this heavy rain overnight to be coming in as heavy as what has fallen today, that could add things up between the 3 to 4 inch total range. So we're going to continue to update you, but this video is really to explain to you guys that although we've had consistent rain here and there, although radar looks like precipitation is more west, it has to do this. This is the transitional time, but all of this is going to move east as dark comes, as overnight appears. These are just the steps that low pressures take, and this is the one we're expecting. So I don't think any forecast should be shifted down or anything yet. Even alertness should be at a lower level. It shouldn't, because later tonight the heaviest rain does move in. I'm forecaster Andrew Fleck for your 5 p.m. update.